considered doing, and they've done, is turn this into a fortress. This is one of the reasons you see all these so-called global elitists. They've always got their little fortresses set up, but everybody knows where it is. It's actually a prison. If you think about it, they don't understand, I'm going to run to my safe spot. Well, okay. Well, you think nobody knows that where it is, and they can't get to you just because you got robot guards and stuff. I mean, no, none of us have that capacity. There's no such thing as privacy. I'm sorry to tell you. The higher ranking beings, they can read our thoughts. They know exactly where we are all the time and what we're thinking and how we're feeling. Okay. So if that makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry, but it's already been demonstrated to me that is a fact. And I'm not talking about, like targeted individuals here. I'm talking about in the bigger scheme of things, because we're all connected through a web of light, which is way, way more superior to the internet or the Internet of Things now. The higher beings know how to use that to keep an eye on us and to communicate with each other. I mean, obviously at great distances, in fact, across even dimensions, different universes, it's all connected. So right now they're watching us very carefully because we have to make a choice. And the time for that is running out. And that's the reason I'm even mentioning all this stuff, is because Anu, Yeshua, Jesus told me this in 2013. Because I'd asked him. I didn't know who he was at the time. It was actually one of the most frustrating things for me in my life, was not knowing who this character was or is and why he had a relation. I was having a relation with somebody that I didn't know who they were for sure. Okay, that's why, in some of the other interviews that you've heard me talk about, that I thought I'd met Enki. Well, I was close. It was Enki's father. And nobody was more shocked to learn that than me. I'm relieved on one hand to know this information, but then there's also a burden placed on me. It's like, that's not just for me. Well, I mean, because we're all in this together, really. I don't mean this stupid thing like this motto, this meme that they put out with, we're all in it together, the COVIDian crap that we're talking about. No, I'm talking about something much larger. This is not a conspiracy. It's just it's a bit convoluted. Okay. And the reason why, as you've probably heard me say before, is the first casualty of war is truth. It always happens that way. The propaganda, the lies, they just start spilling out. And it's, it serves a purpose, but it really messes people up. It's impeding our progress. So again, somebody has to deliver the information. Dan Perkins is in the room. Are you going to let him in, or should I do it? Can I do that? I don't know. I just clicked the button. Did you drop him? I'm sorry. I don't know. Anyway, we're coming up in a critical juncture, and that's why I'm just telling you what I've learned. I'm trying to share some factual information because unfortunately there isn't a lot of that out there right now. Again, because this is a conflict. This is a battle that has been going on this world here for thousands of years. And there has to be a resolution. For every war, there's multiple battles, but at some point, the war ends within a region, within a time frame. Okay, historically, we know that's just how it goes. The same is true here with these Anunnaki, that we're caught up in the middle of that. We're caught up. The good ones above us, the bad ones below us, and we're kind of torn in the middle, getting pulled in every direction. But I hear you. Is that you? Hey, Dan. Oh, there's no one home. There he is. He's coming from another dimension.
He's coming.
Oh, my goodness.
There I am.
There you are. So I don't know if you heard any of that, Dan.
No, I didn't. I was out of the room. Sorry.
Well, that's perfect.
You had a chance to rehearse it tonight. You do it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're live on air, Dan. This is a show. All right, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
So Dan, how are you today?
Yes, sir. I'm fine, thank you.
That's
What
good.
can I do for you?
Well, you could tell me what you know about the Anunnaki.
Nothing.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, all right. Do you know anything about angels?
Sure.
Okay. Please enlighten us.
Angels are spirits, and I think they're spirits of good people who've gone to heaven and are there to serve the Lord and create goodwill among men and be of service as intermediaries to the Lord for special things we might need.
Okay. Do they take on a human form at times?
But I don't know.
I'm just asking
but
your opinion.
I think it's possible, but I don't know for sure. It's only a guess on my part.
Whoa. Oh my God. Are you okay?
Yeah, what happened was it fell over the camera and knocked it down. I don't know why I did that, but so maybe it was the devil was doing that.
Yes, of course.
The adversary made me do it.
That's right. Oh man.
Okay.
But in the world of the spiritual, Robert, is it the fact that it's to teach the humans that are on this land at current a lesson, or is it a way for us to enhance our experience level as spirit beings? Well, human spirit beings encased in a physical body, to better ourselves, to be more proficient for what is to come.
Yes. Yeah, all of that. And it's really well stated in this book I've been promoting. You can get a copy on my website, unicusmagazine.com, UNICUS magazine.com. Just scroll down to the shining ones, and you can acquire a copy there from the publisher, or you can write to me if you're having any problems, you need to get a PDF. It explains it really clearly that all of the lower planes below heaven are basically a schools, like different levels of school, from kindergarten all the way up to graduate level PhDs for souls. And so because this is the big conundrum that a lot of people have said about God who are religious. They're like, why would God let children get cancer and die and all that? Well, it's not God personally doing that. The Creator set up all of this for us to learn from, including all the obstacles that we're encountering at every different level of our existence. You okay, Dan?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay. That's a nice looking studio you got there.
Thank you. It just that's better. Okay, good. Daryl, what time is this interview set to run to?
We're good till 2:00. He just stepped away from the board.
Oh, okay. Because I think we have another guest at you're in. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Los Angeles area.
Okay, so you're 3 hours behind. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be right. Okay.
Or
so
you're 3 hours ahead.
Or depending on one's perspective, you're correct.
That's right. And that's really what we're talking about here, is these different realms of existence. And it's hard for us to comprehend because we're focused on our own zone, right?
Yep.
So it's hard to see the big picture, especially when we're in this particular form. It's a little bit more limited. And especially when we're focused on, although I like technology and communications, it's not the same thing as an actual face-to-face encounter.
Right.
Wouldn't you think? So, and it's become a huge distraction. It's like a double-edged sword. Big tech was created by Big Brother. And that's why nobody in the government seems to care about all the tyrannical censorship and deplatforming and all that nonsense. It's segregation, cyber segregation. I don't know how else you're going to call it, but it was sanctioned by and created by the deep state, the shadow governments, to spy on us and also to manipulate us.
So it would seem to me, and I could be wrong, that this medium, this quasi-television medium, is actually a significant improvement over email. Because email, you're not looking at the person at all, whatever you're saying.
Right.
You're not talking to them. You're putting words on a piece of paper. And as a result, there's very little personal interaction. You don't see their face. You don't hear how they're reacting to it. So that the opportunity, the expression that we gain in Zoom and FaceTime or phone, and also other social media that's video based, it actually, in my opinion, has improved the communications. I'll give you another example. One of the things that came out of the pandemic that was striking and unusual was the advent of telemedicine.
True.
Where a person was afraid to go into the community, go to the doctor's office. And so that telemedicine created an opportunity for the doctor and the patient to have a interaction, well, not in physical contact, but at least visually in contact, so one could react to what one was saying. So that video has really, in many respects, increased the credibility and the desirability of communications over the internet, is more specifically in social media, where it's instant messaging and there's no emotion, no passion, no nothing.
Right.
But it's exploded because of the pandemic, but it's continued to be a primary source of communications.
And, this is what Marshall McLuhan was getting at when the first satellites went up. He was saying we're now a global village, although it took a while before that actually happened, and we're here now.
Well, we're paying the price of the global village because the way that it's been structured and manipulated by certain individuals, it has become a weapon to destroy people and their philosophies.
Yeah, or their way of life, if it doesn't comport with the politically correct crowd.
Mm-hmm. Yes, from a broadcasting standpoint, I don't know whether Daryl would agree with me or not, but being able to use the combination of voice and video, I think produces a better quality product than just radio. Now, I understand there's a magic about radio, how you can create pictures, but I mean, look at Daryl. How can you not like that face?
Okay. But the problem that I have with video, and as a means of the radio broadcasting, is that we lose imagination.
Exactly.
We lose the ability to envision an outcome, envision the appearance of, envision things that are around them. I mean, today's world, you can't sit there and listening to any of those stories that they used to tell, like campfire stories. There was no video; there was just stories being told, and you could see the creatures walking through the jungle. Or if you want to go further, you can go the original recording of War of the Worlds. Envisionment is the problem of today's society. Even though video is a means which assists people that are, to see an individual, to feel like they're more present. But I'm from the days of talk radio, the old Art Bell style, where you sat back and you listened to the man and you had a cognitive ability to understand and to grow your mind. With video, you lose substance. You lose your control. And that's the issue I have with it.
But see, I rarely does this happen that Daryl and I disagree. But this is, I think, the first time, at least on air, we've ever disagreed. And I'm gonna say to Daryl, I disagree because look what happened to he and I 5.5 months ago.
Okay.
5.5 months ago, we started a half-an-hour show talking about critical race theory and Senator Tim Scott on, as best we could at the time, and I don't mean to be critical of it, it was amateurish in style in terms of the backgrounds. And where we are today, we're now 17 shows at 5 million plus listeners a month. And our production values have exploded in 5.5 months to what you see today and continuing to evolve. So we both captured the medium, used our creativity to try and figure out a way to better communicate with our listeners. And if you have the content and you deliver it in a way that's appealing, and the video helps you to be able to do that, because not everybody has the creative mind that can paint pictures from words. Part of the great success of our program in such a short period of time, being the fastest growing talk show in the country, is a function of content, how we deliver that content, and the two gorgeous guys on the screen.
Hey, I will agree to what he stated. Yeah, I'm gorgeous. But no, I will agree. But the issue that I still state is, we're listening. It's not the video that's making the audience. It's not the video that we're putting out. It's the server. So they are listening, not watching, Dan. They're listening. And that's the biggest thing.
There are people who are watching.
Yeah, but they're not counting on the server.
There's some that just listen to the stream, the audio.
Yeah, sure, I understand that. But I'm saying that if we didn't have the video portion, I think our audience would be smaller than it is today.
That's true. That's the expectation.
How much smaller?
Yeah, that's the expectation right now. That's the new normal. By default, everybody wants to see video on their devices because you can. We can.
Yeah. It's important to optimize your ability to communicate with others out there. But I got to go back to this Anunnaki and Anu. I mean, is there any accounts to where they come from? Is there any accounts to why they chose this planet? I mean, yeah, it may be beautiful on the outside. It's not really a ball. It's kind of like, got dents and wobbles from space. I mean, sorry, people, to get the impression out of your mind. No, the planet is not a egg or a ball or whatever you want to call it. The question I have is, why would they choose this planet? Or was it just an experiment to bring a life to this planet? But you already but you said it was already. I don't see how
Daryl, building a world is not an experiment, and building anything is a project, and it takes coordination and collaboration, and hopefully some compassion in that. They're cultivating life, on all these worlds. So what we talked about last week about the prime directive allegedly being non-interference, that's only true up to a point. You know, there's such a thing as being assistant. You know, Dan, you'd said this too about angels. They do the work of the Lord. Well, what if that's actually part of it? That work is actually cultivating different worlds, building worlds, civilizing worlds.
Well, they could be doing that. I don't have any way to prove that.
Right.
And I suppose I could believe it on my own, but I can't prove it on my own.
Understood. Well, I don't think any of us can, even though there's a lot of different literature out there, and you know, people with experiences. Collectively, it's intriguing, but proving it, I think the burden it would be on them, the angelic realm, and God. That's something that we're not in a position to validate entirely, but it seems to be a lot of evidence indicating that is the fact.
But is it possible that they don't want to be seen?
Obviously, they don't want to interact with us right now. The
Why?
historical records claim that they have interacted with us in the past, both for good and ill. And there seems to be a lot of covert activity. If you go through the public record right now is full of people claiming that they're having covert contact with different types of entities.
Right. So, have you seen them?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before you joined the program.
Okay. Where did you see one?
My first major encounter was in Malibu, where I grew up, and specifically above Point Magoo, if you're familiar with that area, near Oxnard, Ventura.
No. A little bit, yes. I've spent some time in California, but not a lot.
Okay, so north of Los Angeles, of just the northwest end of Malibu turns into the Ventura Valley, but there's Point Magoo Naval Base is where I started having in the mountains just above it.
Oh my God, sorry.
And that's part of the record, by the way. The military, when they first built that base back in the 40s, started recording vehicles coming over at speeds that were so fast and the energy was so high coming out of the craft that it was burning up the radar.
Mm.
Wow.
So, and that was Major Donald Kehoe was one of the guys that reported that. So it's some of the stuff is nonsense, Dan. I don't want you to think that I just believe everything I read. But especially once you have personal experiences, you start to look for more, not just confirmation, but information that is substantial as opposed to just theoretical nonsense. A lot of it is, especially now with the internet, it wasn't so much when I was growing up. You actually had to read books and magazines and newspapers and stuff. But it's like there is a signal to noise ratio when it comes to these so-called paranormal events. And
right.
Yeah, the individuals that I encountered were mainly benevolent and human looking. So, and that was what I was trying to preface that most people have read books about these so-called Anunnaki. If you've read the Bible, you're familiar with the Elohim. It's actually a plural term, and that's another name: angels, Elohim, Anunnaki. We're talking about the same group of other dimensional beings that have been interacting with us for thousands of years in our modern current format as Homo sapiens.
Okay. So what do you think in terms of, will we have something happen that they'll decide it's time for them to appear to us?
You mean officially?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there's that date is coming. Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing. But nobody knows for sure. And here's the thing: it's not going to come from our government, as you just said. When they decide to reveal themselves to us, I believe it's going to really depend on us. You know, I mean, this was what the think tank, the Brookings Institute in Washington, D.C., came up with this conclusion back in the 50s when NASA was just being formed. I think it was originally NACA, and then it was evolving into NASA. And so the Brookings Institute put together this briefing for them and said, as we venture out into space with the manned space program, we're going to come across either aliens and their artifacts off world. They didn't say why they knew that or even were making that it was a very I can't even say the word. It was a definitive statement that they were making as though they knew that was going to happen. I still don't know why. But the bottom line is that allegedly anyway, that's what happened. NASA started having discoveries, and they withheld it from the public because that's what the briefing from Brookings Institute warned them. It has this information, this realization has the ability to destabilize society as we know it. And it was really curious because it cited scientists first would probably have the hardest time with it, and then theologians, religious leaders would have. Those two groups, I kind of see those guys are both two sides of the same coin. It's very political, those groups are very, very political and egotistical, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess they felt that their positions of power or authority were going to be threatened once there was a newer, higher version of an authority figure for both science and religion. That was the implication. That was part of what they were saying would happen. So, and I'm sure any advanced culture knows that the impact that they would have once they reveal themselves to us, it's going to change us. It's not going to be life as normal once we cross that particular point of no return.
Mm.
Because
But
once they do that,
yeah,
that's a good question. Do I think it's soon? Yeah, I do. Because what we're doing to the planet and ourselves is unsustainable. This is ridiculous. You can only mess with Mother Nature for so long. You've heard this saying, a mad scientist, or they're playing God, or a mad scientist playing God. It's probably worse. And they are. They think that they can just manipulate the entire gene pool of the planet and switch people on and off whenever they feel like it, as though we're just property. And there's consequences to that as well, because this is not our world. If you think about it logically, we come here as souls, and it's a transient experience. We don't say, "Oh, I own property," and whatever. Do you really? Because you're not taking any of that with you.
Right.
Okay. And none of us are. And this is just farcical to think that we have somehow control over the cosmos. No, you don't. You're not God. You're not even a God. But it doesn't mean that we can't become that at some point. It's just we're not there yet. We're like children or souls. I call us soulings or godlings, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of a better terminology at this point, but we're still in the infant or child stage of development as souls. So,
we've been told that we are made in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah, I know religion has said that, but this is why I was, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Dan. Okay, it's just that who is telling us that exactly? What I explained was that we were made in the image of a particular group of gods that are human looking. They're multidimensional. Again, we call them Elohim or whatever. That is not God, the creator of the entire universe. Our souls were created by God, but the physical format that we're in right now was created by a group of individuals we loosely call gods with a small g. And they do have names. And what was it, Daryl? You were asking me where I thought they come from?
Yeah, I was asking where did they come from, because it's very important to know at least something about the people that enter your home.
Yeah, the alleged ancestors.
Yeah, the
They're the missing
ancestors.
link, as you and I were talking about off air. That's my opinion of them. They are the missing link in the development of life on this world. You know, supposedly from, because it seems weird that there's still apes, you know, and then there's us. How did that happen? Okay, intelligent design, yeah, but who is the intelligence behind it? And I think that's part of the conversation that we're having right here. The records indicate that these entities, these Anunnaki, the shining ones, the Elohim, they came here and they created us in their image physically. But they also knew that we were new souls, we're relatively young souls. So they were like acting like elder brothers to raise us up to a higher level, instead of being just primitive, like living like almost like wild animals, is what the records say. We were cavemen. So they took us from being like cavemen. Yeah, no, they said just foraging around, like drinking out of a ditch or whatever. It's just, that's not the best way of saying it, but we didn't have any of the technologies. We didn't have any of the rules that we live by in a society now. It wasn't that way. It was really just the law of the jungle, literally. So they taught us, they brought us up. First of all, genetically, they hybridized us. They interacted, they mixed their DNA with ours, so that the primitive man became the modern man, or the Homo sapien, the thinking human, the thinking man. And that was a gift from them. However, there was also the curse, the blessing and the curse. Some of them have fallen to the dark side, and those are the ones that in the garden are talked about as Satan, the adversary. That's all it means, adversary. So Dan, I'm assuming that you, and probably not the best thing for me to do, but you are religious? Okay. For example, I'll just give you an example. And again, I'm not trying to change your mind or anybody's mind about this. This is just my expanded understanding of these records. Like when you talk about it, we are told, yes, in the Bible, we are told we were created in the image, but there's a little more to the story. And that's the only reason that I'm back on the air again, explaining this from hopefully from a more comprehensive or just a bigger picture. I'm trying to get people the bigger picture here. Okay. So for example, when they talk about the Elohim, or God is in the garden, the Elohim, the Garden of Eden, there was more than one God. The Elohim is multiple, plural. They created multiple versions of us, the Homo sapiens, so-called Adamos and Eves. Multiple. And as far as the devil or Satan, that's a group, multiple entities. So that changes the complexion of that scenario entirely. When you look at it that way, it opens up the door to like, wait a minute. Okay, so who are all these beings that we're related to and somehow caught in the middle of this struggle between good and evil?
Daryl, do we have a 4 o'clock?
Yeah, but no one's there at all.
Okay, let me look at something. Go ahead.
Anyway, this information is available on my website. If you want to, not just you, Dan, but for anybody who wants to look deeper into this information.
Sure.
Okay, from a secular perspective, you know, the thing about it is, and this sounds kind of oxymoronic, Dan, if I say this, but how can you take so-called religious events and then analyze them from a secular perspective? Really analyze these things. I think you have to suspend your skepticism as well as any kind of religious prejudices that you might bring to this particular problem. Not just you, I'm just saying anybody who really wants to get down into, if you want to really dig deep into this, there's certain things that, because we're programmed, I'm sorry, but we've been manipulated by the fallen ones have manipulated us to see things the way that they want us. Basically, they keep us, ignorance is not bliss, all right? I just want to be perfectly clear. It's a means of controlling. Those who are not ignorant, who are well informed, can always manipulate those who are ignorant and misinformed.
It's almost Is it that what you're saying is almost like during the early ages of the church, they had it in Latin, and none of the people could speak it.
Oh no, you get punished. You get punished if you had read the Bible back at a certain time.
But during the period,
if you could get a copy and you could actually read, if you read it, or worse, if you read it to other people and gave your interpretation, you're in big trouble with the church.
And during also that time, most of the people were illiterate.
Well,
illiteracy was high.
I told you this yesterday. Most people to this day are functionally illiterate. Yeah. Okay, they can read a little bit, enough to get to their job, navigate through the grocery store or on whatever through life, but they don't read. Growing up, I read music before I actually read books, English books. My mom was homeschooling me because she was a piano teacher, and so that was just kind of how it went. But I've always read at some people call a very high level, and I thought that was normal. Because we didn't. Oh, the other thing was we didn't have TV reception where I was growing up in that at West End of Malibu. We could not at that time back in the '60s. I was so I read, and I listened to the radio. Mm-hmm. Actually, so my inner vision was pretty well developed, even as a child. And again, I thought that was normal. I thought everybody could see, pictures in their head when they read. Or more importantly, actually, you know what reading is? It's a form of telepathy. It's a very limited form of telepathy. But when you're reading the words, you're sitting there looking. What are you hearing? You're hearing a voice in your head. As we read the words, we hear a voice in our head. That's a form of telepathy.
Yeah.
So it's not just the pictures. We're generating a whole narration on top of the pictures. It's way better than television, in my opinion, because I grew up like that. Okay, so I guess I'm old school.
Yeah, but I mean, television has misplaced us. It's hampered the imagination, but has brought more people together. But even though during the olden days, which were the better days, you could sit there and listen to a baseball game. And envision.
I used to fall asleep listening to the Dodgers. That was when I was a kid. That was a thing for me. Vince Scully, that guy was a legend. Or the Lakers, Chick Hearn. I mean, I listened to all of those people growing up, and that was considered, to me, that was the template. The bar. Those guys set the bar for broadcasting. And so I understand what Dan is saying about video. That's nice. Everybody can do it now. I mean, that's nice. But not everybody is really good at broadcasting. They're just not. They're not, for whatever reason.
Now, about the Bible, the verse that gets me is, then God said, let us make mankind in our image, our likeness. So
that confuses people.
And then we are always taught, and God made man in his image, but they leave the word let us and our. They leave the plurals.
It's plural then singular. I know, and that's why I brought it up, because, and my wife is Christian, and she says this to me, Robert. You shouldn't be so dismissive of the Bible. And I said, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. I'm just saying there's more to the story. Some of this stuff is inaccurate, and whether it was done intentionally or not doesn't even matter. It just it is deficient. It's not we need all the information. And again, what I told you at the beginning of the broadcast, what Jesus told me back in 2013, everything was going to be revealed. How? Because waves of energy would be washing over the planet from 2013 to 2022. And that would amplify everyone's consciousness, both good and bad. And in the process, everything was going to come out. You can't hide things from people when your consciousness, as it's amplified, everything, it's like turning a light on in a room. You start to see every detail of everything. unless you just don't want to see it, then that's a different story. But the way he explained it to me was everybody was going to have to make a choice, and that's why everything was being revealed. So that goes back to what I'd said before, last week with Dan. He said, prime directive says no interference. Well, this is not interference. If it was an intervention to begin with, to assist the development of life on this world, and then something seemed to go wrong, and we were presented with all these different obstacles that we had to overcome, the project isn't over. Yeah, okay, some people say it's an experiment. I don't see it that way. I see it as a very deliberate project that I don't think this is the first time, Daryl. Experiment means like, oh, let's just see what happens. No, they had a specific goal in mind.
Right.
It was deviated. It was derailed because of the rebellion. But in the process, look what's happened. We have been facing these incredible obstacles, and those of us that overcome it are stronger as souls. Right. Like that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, it's pretty hard to kill a soul, as far as I know. So, yeah, we've suffered. We certainly have suffered. But what happens when you suffer? You learn to appreciate things more. If you're hungry, when you actually, if you're really hungry or starving and you actually get to drink some water or eat food, my God, it tastes like the most amazing thing. Like it's like you appreciate it so much. But if you're constantly just gorging yourself sitting in front of the TV, it all loses its flavor. It just kind of just doesn't have the same value. So we're learning to appreciate life and liberty and love.
Yes.
By being opposed by what? The adversary.
You know what that is? It's kind of scary because for everything there is an adversary, and I cannot understand a life that way if there is supposed to be a God that watches over us,
but not manipulates us. See, that's the thing about free will. We have to, and especially free will, we have to be given a choice. When we're being forced to make a choice, that's not a choice. That's a mandate. We're hearing that word all the time now. Do what we say or else. That's not a choice.
I like that word, mandate.
Yeah, because we're the authorities. We're the authors of reality now. We're going to tell you what to do, okay? And you're going to do it or you're going to suffer. That's not a choice. That isn't a choice. That's tyranny, despotism. It's psychopathic. Anyway, look, the satanic world order is not going to stand. It can't. It's not sustainable to begin with. And it was never meant to be the template for this world or for us or for any world, actually, for that matter. We're not designed that way. Souls are not meant to be imprisoned or enslaved and manipulated. We have free will. We're intelligent, living entities. And we need to continue our growth. You cannot grow if you're being enslaved and manipulated and told what to do all the time. Did you want to try and bring, I think her name was Terry?
Yeah.
See if she's still on the line there?
No, Terry's off, I think.
Okay, that's just, that 801 is...
Oh, the 801, yeah. Are you still on the line?
She might have muted.
Yeah, she did.
Okay, never mind. Not a problem.
Well,
yeah, so anyway,
also, I was getting messages. Miss Lindsay Cook, another host on the network still.
Yeah.
And don't nobody say, Lindsay's always going to be there. Oh, and Robert Banfield is there. Free choice is not found in a list of multiple choice list, in a multi-choice list created by another human. These are options offered under pressure. If you want to join people, come on in. This conversation is getting deep. This man is talking about something that's more real than I actually would admit. I've noticed it. I've seen it.
Daryl, we got somebody else. Do I hit the admit button, or are you going to do that? Sarah's waiting to be admitted.
Who?
It says here. Okay, maybe because you let me share screen.
I made you host.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll say I just admitted her. She's waiting. Sarah is her name. Let's see. I didn't realize that. There she is. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Your
Hey, how
camera.
you doing?
Look,
Okay,
doing our
you're a
neck
bit
turn.
sideways
There we
there. There you are.
How's that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Not too bad. Interesting show. I followed Daryl on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds interesting. Let's have a listen." And everything you said, I've been like, "Wow, okay, cool. That's all the stuff that I've been reading, following." And then I mentioned to Daryl in the chat about Michael Lee Hill.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the man.
And he says, "Yeah, Michael Lee Hill's been on the show before, and he talks about this as well, right?"
Yes, he does. He has a slightly different perspective on it, but yes, go ahead.
No, but that's the thing, though. All these different perspectives, right?
Yes, yes.
So it's all these people that have had contact or have some sort of experience. So it must come from somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right? And then,
yeah, you're right.
So that's the thing. Whether they're different, our perspectives are different. They're all coming from somewhere. So
right.
That has to mean something.
It does, but it's okay. So it's incumbent upon us to know, to use discernment and to analyze the information to weed out what is false from what is true, what is accurate as opposed to inaccurate, which is difficult because we have limited access to information on this planet. Again, because of, as I said before, there's a war going on or a civil war between these entities and within their own culture, and we are part of it. And that's the weirdest part about it is we're part of it, and yet a lot of us act like they have no idea that it's happening.
A lot of people are too busy in their day-to-day lives to lift their head up to even have a look, right?
True. Well, also, and there's a huge distraction, Sarah, with and I'm sure this is by design, forcing us to be looking at things that are insignificant in the bigger picture. Okay, I like sports, but I'm not obsessed with it, but I know people who are, and it tends to be a huge distraction if that's what you're spend a lot of your time on, or video games, or whatever it is. Whatever it is that is taking us away from this conversation that I started. And I guess I'm just not going to let it go because, like I said, I feel like time is running short for us collectively about our relationship with them. We have to figure this out to a certain extent so that when, like Dan was saying earlier, he's asking me, or was it Daryl? Oh, maybe it's both of you guys said, when are they going to show up? I don't know. That's up to them. But in a way, it could be, it's up to us too, to get ready so that when it happens, we're not, at least enough of us are not so shocked by it that we don't just like have a freaking breakdown.
That's you wonder about the UFO disclosure that they put out. Is that them getting ready, right?
Oh gosh.
I don't believe anything that comes out of the media, but I'm just saying there's a reason why they disclose that.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. My understanding, and I've been researching and reporting on this for like 3 decades now. I don't look that old, but I've been around for a while.
Me too. Me too.
Doing this work. Yeah, you look good. So the thing is, but I'm just saying, I've been looking deeply into this and having my own experiences, and it seems to me that the reason the governments don't want to disclose is because they're in cahoots. They're collaborating with the fallen ones. So
correct.
The only reason that they would disclose anything is to further their agenda. And again, this is what I was saying earlier about the Great Reset. It's like they know that they're going to lose control over a large portion of the population at some point because we're waking up. Yes. And they're actually, they're making it worse every time they come out with this latest scare thing or whatever. Like they're literally Big Brother, and it's the unintended consequences is that they're actually waking a lot more people up. Every time they try and freak people out to manipulate them, it's serving a purpose. So anyway, that's the bottom line, is that they're not really in control. They're just pretending to be in control, unless of course you buy into it. And then they are if you let them manipulate you, then that's a form of control, but not entirely. So I think Dan was right. He said, when are they going to, isn't it kind of they're in the one, the Anunnaki, aren't they the ones that really are in the driver's seat when it comes to disclosure? And I would have to say yes. But so if you go into a classroom and you give this presentation a very high level, let's just say you're in a math class, and you come in and these people are basically learning arithmetic, and here you come in and say, we're going to learn geometry and trigonometry today, and they're like, huh? What are you talking about? They have no context. It wouldn't make any sense. And so that's part of the problem for. Well, the government just knows they're not in a position to educate us now that they've been too busy indoctrinating us, basically lying about it, trying to tell us there's nothing, there's nothing to see here, folks. Yeah, right. So they've lost credibility, and so this is why we are having this conversation. That's why the alternative media has exploded, is because we are, even though it's not reaching everybody, it's out there for anybody who wants it. Now, because
it's reaching a lot of people. Like if you see people marching in the people marching in the streets around the world, that says something.
Yeah. Well, sure, because it's a matter of survival now for all of us. I thought last March, when I don't know if you heard me talking about this, but last March I woke up and I had this knowing, a very clear understanding that I had made an agreement to work with the angels of light. I really didn't know that they were also called the shining ones. But and I even talked to my wife about it. I said, look, I made an agreement that I was going to work with them. They asked me to ask everybody in the audience to ask for their assistance. Now, the Catholics call this intercession. Basically, you're asking for the angels of light to intercede on our behalf. Because the fallen angels have been messing with us so hard for so long, we're not in a position to really overcome them. Okay, and so here's the thing: it's like, it sounds like a simple thing. Oh, sure, I'll put out the request, right? But then people naturally are going to say, why would we ask the angels of light to help us with the fallen angels? I mean, we all have kind of like a vague understanding. I thought I knew about angels when I, right? I mean, everybody's read about them.
Yeah.
But after I agreed, it was sometime in March before Easter. After I agreed, suddenly I was going deep. I mean, so deep. I suddenly learned that same day, I learned that there was a whole field of study called angelology. And that most people were unaware of all the intricacies of our relationship with these angels. And that's what led me to the current information that I mean, it was like every day since then, I've been learning more and more and more and putting it out there. Now, the reason I disappeared for a while is because when I was asked to do this work with them, to help us out of this jam, they said, if you help us, you're going to get kicked off the radio, which did happen, by the way. And I've been recently invited back to KGRA. So thank God, it's a blessing to be back with that particular crew. But I was talking about fallen angels, and I got kicked off the radio. And then I thought, oh my gosh, they also said, you're going to get kicked off the radio. If you're not careful, you're going to be kicked off the planet. They're going to kill you. Now, I took that as personal, and obviously I don't want to get killed just for talking about this thing, but I understand they're psychotic, they're criminals. They're they're the original organized crime syndicate and all the other groups that they've created. But here's the thing. I realize now they weren't talking about me getting killed. They were talking about us. That's what they meant. When they said you would be killed, they meant mankind. And because that's what they're doing, right? That's what the dark side, the fallen ones, they're attempting to so-called depopulate.
Yeah, that's the reset. Yeah.
That's part of the reset, so that they can retain control of the planet in its current format with them in charge in this criminal cabal. But that's not the plan. That's not the plan. And they know it, by the way. Originally they had their timeline was by 2050 that they were going to have this all rolled out. Then they said, no, we got to move it up to 2030. And then for some reason, and I think I know what it is, They said, no, we got to hurry up. We need to get this initiated or implemented by 2020, which they did, or they're doing it. They're doing it right now. But it's because they know that they're gonna lose control. So they're acting out of desperation. Go ahead.
Do you know of Kim Gogan?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
She talks of a timeline, and they have a 17% chance of winning. So they've already lost, and they know it.
Yeah, there was. So we talked about that.
Now they're just scrambling.
Okay, yeah, we talked about that last week briefly. There's a guy, a so-called military insider, was interviewed by Carrie Cassidy. Sorry, what is going on?
Yeah, Carrie Cassidy interviewed Kim as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is my volume still okay? I just touched the cable.
Still good.
Yep, no, still hear you. Okay. Kim does a weekly show every Sunday.
Really?
And she kind of gives you an update of where they are etherically, because they work on an etheric level.
Yeah.
With the Earth and the globe and the population.
Okay, I'm going to look her up. Kim, what is her last name again?
Gogan.
How do you spell it?
I think it's Goggeun, I believe.
Wow, that's an unusual name. Timelines. Does she
talks about working for Anu.
What?
Yes.
Did you hear what I said at the beginning of the show?
I did.
Oh, my God.
That's why I clued right in.
Wow.
He talks about working for Anu.
Wow, most people never talk about him. So where is her? Where do I find her show? What's it called?
She's got I think it's a United News Network or Life Force. She's got a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, okay.
But she's got a whole team of people that they're trying to make their own legislate.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because as people conform, they can make their own legislate. And she's not in charge. She says that. She goes, this is not about me. This is about all of us. She goes, wow. I used to work for him, so I kind of know how to get these things done. Uh-huh. So she's just trying to rally the troops type of thing. To just get people to stand up and work together and to take action. So marching in the street doesn't do it. Mm-hmm. She says you need to actually get into action. You need to take we need to take over the legal system. We need to change our small communities, like who controls the roads, the new bridges, things like that, water supply, food supply, things like that. She's like, that's what we need to work on. But one of the things is also an etheric level where they work with an etheric level where they're actually trying to clear the atmosphere, all that sort of stuff of everything that has been controlled over us for so long. Wow. And that's what they work as a group. And they work on to try to clear the atmosphere, get rid of the viruses, because viruses aren't from Earth. They're not from here.
Okay.
They put them here on purpose.
Huh.
Bacteria is from here because it's part of life. It's part of the cycle of death and rebirth, right?
Well, it also created the oxygen, the atmosphere that we needed.
Yes, we need that, right? For compost, decompose, right? The whole planet, right? We need that in our soil.
Right.
But viruses, on the other hand, are not part of this planet. They were put here on purpose. It's just one of those control structures.
Well,
but they talk about that on an etheric level as a group of people that are working towards to help people, to help humanity for the highest intention. Mm-hmm. And then she talks about the timeline, and she talks about Anu, and she talks about the power structure. She always uses a whiteboard and puts Anu at the top and talks about who these people are. And she puts the guardians, and then she puts all the people underneath.
Yeah, the guardians. That's okay. I'm glad you brought that up. That would be what we loosely call the Jedi.
Yeah. And then she talks
my
about
group.
People that we talk about, the people that we know down here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. And how it all infiltrates down here in the power control and the power structure.
Right.
And how people have no power anymore. They had a 17% chance. They've already lost.
Wow.
Right now, what we're seeing is them scrambling.
Right.
And what you're seeing right now is us slowly taking it all back.
Wow.
So there is hope, and it's happening.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, that's awesome.
You got a great man. You got some people that are really interested in what you're saying today.
Well, it's not me. I'm just a messenger. Robert's joining the group here. Hey, Robert, how are you?
Robert. Hi, Robert.
Yeah, that's echo going on here.
How many Roberts do we have here now? Oh,
only two today.
All we need is Robert Morningstar.
I'll be a Bob.
Okay.
I'm real good about yourself.
Bob Banfield, wasn't that a guy on the news? That sounds like a news.
You know what? Yes, actually, Robert M. Banfield. Yeah, he was on LA. He was on LA News for 30 years.
Yep, an icon. I thought I remembered that. Interesting. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us again. Good to see you.
Have you heard of a guy named Dante?
Daryl's mentioned him a few times.
Yes.
And just like you've said about the warring factions and how we're caught in between, right?
Yes.
He talks about the warring factions, and he talks about a group called the Christus. The Christus.
The Christos, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
the Vlash and the Matra.
Wow. Okay.
And he talks about the battles that go on that we sometimes see, but they say, it's a comet, it's that, it's this, whatever.
Right.
Right? So, but he talks about this, and he talks about reincarnation and talking about who he was in a previous life and how this has always been his mission. This is his mission. And there's four brothers: Michael, Gabriel, Daniel, as in Daniel, and Azazel.
Oh my. Okay.
And he talks about the Anunnaki.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And he talks about the warring factions and how they are here. So it's just more creative to say that, yes, there is more than what we see. There's more than what's going on. He shows you CCTV footage.
Mm-hmm.
Like things that are happening on the street. He's showing you those footage and the things that happen. The lights, the beings of light that actually come down and land on the ground. And these are not CGI. These are just regular CCTV.
Yes, I've seen that. Some of that. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and he shows you these things are actually happening, and you guys have no idea that there are actually beings here these beings here are fighting for you.
I know. And
that's you have no idea.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you. When we do interact with them, it's very shocking. And look, even for myself, as many times as I've had contact or this ongoing relationship is still, it's confusing because what they're doing to me is different than what the fallen ones are doing. All the programming that was put on me growing up here in this world at this time. So it's almost like an internal struggle, like conflict going on literally between my ears and my heart. Yeah, it's difficult to get rid of the programming, whatever indoctrination, and just deal with it.
It's hard when it ricochets around in all that empty space.
Thanks, Bob. We're mostly empty space. Yes, that's true.
I've been diagnosed with major depression since I was a teenager. So I have those ongoing struggles, fights, battles in my own head.
Can I recommend a book then? I know this is going to sound, because books don't really cure depression, supposedly. No,
but I'm open to anything. I listen to everything. I just take it all, and
It's the book I talked about at the beginning of the show when I showed you that picture, the painting, the portrait of Jesus. Okay, so Love Without End. I don't know. You can get a copy pretty much anywhere. I don't know if it's available electronically or not. But in any case, that book has really helped me as much as I've had interactions with these beings. Some of the information is so profound, and yet it's really simple too. What he said was that we're out of balance. We are letting our minds rule us, and it's supposed to be the other way around. Our heart is supposed to lead over our head, and because that's as you probably heard me say before. If not, I'll just repeat it. The doorway to heaven is found within our heart. And so when we're connected, when our heart chakras, which is the biggest energy field in our being, when it connects to the cosmos, that's when we start to feel better because we're feeling more. Right now,
Correct.
a lot of us are suffering from depression, Sarah, at different levels. It's not like chronic, whatever, but we're all having it to different degrees. So reconnecting to the cosmos or the cosmic web of light, however you want to look at it, God, heaven, that's available to us at any time. That's one of the reasons I started the private chat room. If anybody wants to join, it's on my website. You just click on the link there with the golden crown. And I set that up specifically as a sacred cyber space for people, for souls that are looking to get back on the path of light on their journey back into heaven, or whatever, however you want to look at it, something greater than where we are now or what we are now. It's the reason it's private is because I want to make sure that the people, the souls that show up there are safe. Because unfortunately, a lot of the chat rooms there's a lot of trolls or bots or whatever out there that they're not only trying to censor you, but they're also trying to take us off the path of light through any means possible. And depression is just one of the aspects, anger, fear, all of that stuff, all those negative emotions that tends to take us off the path of light and out of our heart and into our head. So that's another option for people. We can connect there through that means.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope it helps. I hope it helps you. I hope you're also getting good nutrition, and because sometimes people are deficient. Actually, most of us are dehydrated.
Yeah,
most
I do
of the
drink
time.
lots of water. Yes.
So, okay, both of you. Yes, Bob, you're right.
Most of the time. Both most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sarah, you said.
I drink lots of water. I drink lots of alkaline water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know live living spring water is the best, but it's
that's
not
what
always
I've been,
available.
And when I moved over here, I'm near, okay, I don't want to say exactly where I'm at. Near San Diego. There's a mountain here that's full of spring water, and I made an extra effort to get that, and it not only tastes better, it makes me feel better.
Yeah, because it's alive.
It's a different structure, and it helps to lower the pH in the body. But here's the other thing: it makes us more conductive. We're energetic beings, so certain water actually helps us be more energetically conductive. The problem with dehydration is that it leads to inflammation, and inflammation, especially now with people doing all these crazy medical things like gene therapy, inflammation is rampant, and it causes a systematic shutdown of the nervous system and other organs. Yeah, which makes you feel depressed, to say the least. Whenever you're suffering physically, it's emotionally, there's a component there too.
I listened to Andrew Huberman. He's a scientist. He recently did a podcast on major depression. Yes. And it's fascinating, the things he talks about. He's actually talking about how the brain works and how it receives information, and then different things that you can take, like whether it be a creatine or omegas or something called NAC. And he talks about all these options.
I know what that is. Sure.
Yeah, I have the NAC and things like that. Yeah, I take all that sort of stuff.
Well, that's good. That's important for a physical, but as far as the energetic, well, I'll go back to what was written in this book, Love Without End, is that whatever you can do, whatever works for you to open your heart, which is really difficult for all of us. It's one thing to be dehydrated. Most of us have that, but a lot of us have our heart is shut to, if not somewhat, it's shut totally. People that run around that have zero empathy, their heart is just shut down. And then that is very depressing. And actually we tend to, people that are shut down on a heart level tend to influence, others in that way. In other words, if you're having a bad day, you're going to basically pass it on to somebody else. It's the same thing. When your heart's open and you're very loving, people feel contagious. That too. It's contagious in a very positive way. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Most definitely, it's contagious.
Wow.
Well, thank you for sharing all that, Sarah. That's really awesome stuff to know that you're awake and aware and you're connecting with other people.
I find that when I was through my depression and things like that, And then I couldn't work anymore because of it. And that was fine. I was great. I'm like, thank you. Let me out of the rat race. I was kind of like, this is kind of like my way out.
Sure.
But it was also my way in. Because of that, I've learned so much. I've researched a lot. I've taken Reiki's level 1 and 2. Wow. I've done things like this ever since. So this is kind of like where it's taken me to. And I know why now. So it's so, yes, I do still have those struggles and it's whatever, but it's not so bad because I kind of understand why I've been brought here now. Sure.
And that's the thing about being a survivor. As we overcome anything, people that see themselves as survivors are strong. People that, a lot of these snowflakes, they see themselves as victims and they're weak. I know you're laughing. It's not, but it's really serious. When they go into that mode, they're actually admitting defeat. And they don't want to take responsibility. They're blaming everybody else. There really is just such a difference. People that survive things and get stronger, they want to reach out and help other people to do the same thing. It's a total opposite of people that see themselves as victims. They would just want to blame everybody, So it's like, because it's easier to blame people than to pick yourself up. But it's a dead end. It's not productive. It doesn't lead to anything, and it's also a very vicious cycle. Cause like I said, misery loves company. When you get a group of those crazy people, you end up with Antifa. Just completely nuts.
I think it would be interesting if you probably recall it. The Greatest American Hero, the gag of a TV show was aliens came down and gave this guy a super suit so that he could go out and save humanity. The problem is he was so freaked out by the experience that as he grabbed the box with the super suit and ran away from the strange alien vehicle, he dropped the book, the manual that told him how to operate the suit. Okay, so using that as a point of acknowledgement, wouldn't it be interesting if we all came with an operations manual about us, not we the people, me, myself, my book about me? Because I think what happened is what is happening is I was going to go into this in my show a little later. Yes. Thank you for walking me in here, Robert. I appreciate it. Yeah, Daryl, you too. We all must pay homage to Odin. He's there in the background, floating around, acting a nut, making strange faces. But think about it this way. You come in here, you have nothing. You're a blank slate. You're born. Now, from the time that you can comprehend, being that your eyes can see, your ears can hear, and your brain is now working, which is sometime within the first couple of weeks of your existence in this material plane, you are presented with a zillion options. Mommy and daddy, the people you look up to, set a precedent of who they are. So we look at them and we judge them from that childish point of view. But then we are giving a mass of other issues. Now, I'll take you back 100 years. Before radio, before television, even before mass circulation print magazines. The average kid grew up in a cabin reading a book in the firelight of a candle where he read stories from the Bible, who gave him images. Okay, so there was this image, that image. Which person do you want to be like? Throughout the process in our modern era of time, we are constantly barraged from childhood on up. And I'll give you Sesame Street, one of my greatest. I love picking on Sesame Street. But look at all the characters in Sesame Street. Every puppet in Sesame Street represented a different nature or a different kind of individual. The giver, the taker, the lover, the selfish, the cookie monster, So we get all these characters, and then we get narrators who tell us how to accept the various characters. This is fun, and it's good. We can tell our children. But here's where depression comes into the game. you're given these images. You look at Superman. I have my cousin when he was, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. He's 10 years my senior. He had taken a towel, a big beach towel, and he made a cape for himself. And he was running around the house playing Superman, and he literally threw himself into a wall in the living room and broke his shoulder.
Oh my God.
Okay. Now, because he was so caught up in the idea of being like Superman that he thought he had Superman's abilities.
Yep.
Now, here comes puberty. And the realizations of certain limitations that we all experience. Okay, I'm skinny. I was tall, not tall enough to be a basketball player. Too tall to be a jockey. Not big enough, not heavy enough to be a football player, a baseball player, or a steel worker. Okay, I'm a fragile kind of guy. I bend and break easy. So I'm limited to what I can do. But if I have got this obsessed in my head that I'm going to be X and come to the realization that either I am not suited for it or, more importantly, society tells me I can't, then I become depressed. 2 things cause depression. One is basic delusion. You wanted something so badly, and when you realized it was out of your reach, that depressed you. That broke your spirit. And the other is something that we are taught from early childhood, which I think I really want to debunk, and I hope that you and I and the other guys on this network can get this done. And that is, folks, it ain't personal. Life is not personal. These people are not out there intentionally planning their day just to screw you. Okay? Your problems are the same problems that everybody else has. They're more intense because they're coming directly at you. But when you watch somebody else get in a car wreck, you go, oh, that was terrible. That was a shame. Boy, those poor people over there. But you drive on down the road because nothing happened to you. Right? You're still walking and talking and breathing. Maybe they're not. But when it's coming at you, when it's your accident, oh, it's 5 times worse. We make, and taking this back to where you were at, I'm trying to feed back to you here, get out of this. We make ourselves victims. See, because when we make it personal, then we are a victim. When we see it as the catalyst, the clock wheels go around inside the clock, and when it hits a certain point pre-designated, it chimes and says, hey, it's the top of the hour now. Okay? This isn't good or this isn't bad. This is just what happens. It's if you happen to get your coat caught in the gears and it shreds your coat, well then, now it's personal, isn't it? That hurt me directly. Okay? But the clock wasn't there to mess me up. Life in the world around us isn't here to mess us up. It is here for us to experience. But when we make ourselves a victim, and I emphasize that, we make ourselves victims. By choice, by circumstance, or by conditioning, we make ourselves a victim. None of us have to be a victim. And depression is simply understanding the world is not against you. You just have not found your whole course in life. When you do, the depression will go away. As I understand this, because I am a cured chronic depressive. Okay, it was one of those, as a kid, I was introverted. I didn't want to be involved in the world. Everybody scared me and everybody was mean to me. So I went into an I'm not going to be involved level. That is a deep form of depression. When I realized they didn't even know I existed. They didn't care. And I understood that this game was in my hands, not theirs. The depressions went away. Back to you, Mr. Stanley. Sorry to hijack your show.
I'm trying to beam up now. Where are y'all? I need y'all to beam me. Not leave these people alone. Beam me up.
See, now you're looking for somebody else to rescue you instead of taking the responsibility to try and rescue yourself.
But isn't that what human nature does?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, and we are taught to do that. I mean, it's not like we come to that conclusion on our own. Everything, think back to childhood. Everything is stacked up to get you there. Everything is stacked up to make you dependent on something other than yourself. Don't rely on you, rely on them. They'll pick you for the team. You can't be a good athlete if you never get picked for the team, right?
True.
Is that true?
It's true.
Okay, but it's not true, right? You can be very athletic and very successful and very physically healthy, and yet if nobody picks you for their team, doesn't mean you're not a good athlete. It just means you're not a very popular person. That's something you can work on.
Now, does that work the same way when you think about the Anunnaki and the poor little sheepish souls that are running around on this planet?
I love that argument because, and I've had this conversation, I've actually put on these, great experience or telecast things and that kind of stuff in the past. So I've listened to a lot of this. I'm not sure I buy into all of it 100% one way or another any more than I buy into the Christian Bible or the Quran or any of the other stories that are put out there to try to explain things. But I do accept the idea that this premise of a God, of a creator of creation, may in fact have had a hand. Now, was that hand an alien race, a superior group of beings who either planted us here to expand their own existence? So maybe these aliens aren't so different from us humans.
Yeah, not at all.
Slightly more evolved, but not so much physically different from us. And maybe we were planted here as an expansion of their civilization, future expansion of their civilization. Remember, it takes a long time to grow a child, right? You don't give your 3-year-old the keys to your Ferrari, right? You wait till the kid's old enough to be responsible with that Ferrari.
Well, so hang on, Bob. That's the problem. They planted us. That's the problem I was explaining at the beginning of the show. Some of the lower ranking gods, Anunnakis, whatever you want to call them, they're not really aliens because we're related to them. That they can't be foreigners because they're the ones that helped us to be who we are. We're related. But the problem is that some of them are criminals, and they've been influencing us dramatically at a time when we were still children. I mean, we had no business.
But what is criminal? See, I run into this problem with good and evil. And I would suggest to you that good and evil don't exist because they are something humans concocted. We had to put labels on things. We love to do that. And so consequently, something that happened that was against me or not pleasurable to me was evil. Anything that happened that was good or beneficial was good. So we look back and go, now, okay, let's look at the planet Earth, and let's look at the Anunnaki, and let's look at a bunch of monkeys in the trees. And the Anunnaki say, let's take the monkeys in the trees, let's give them shots, injections, whatever. We'll mess with them, and we'll turn them into a new species.
We'll give them gene therapy.
Okay, we'll give them some. Yeah, right.
Give them gene therapy.
We'll give them that extra something that makes them more like us and less like that monkey in the tree. Okay, now it's going to take time for that to mature. We can go back and see Neanderthal. Now, we've argued for decades, centuries, they've argued that Neanderthal were a subspecies of human beings. What if Neanderthals were the first human beings? What if we are only evolved descendants of them? Now, our DNA studies suggest that's exactly what happened, that either Humanus erectus interbred with Neanderthal, or the other side of that coin would be Neanderthal simply became Humanus erectus through evolution. That evolution, by the way, can be found in a very simplistic, and we're trying to get back to it now, which is weird about cycles, but when we started cooking food, we changed the chemistry of our body, and when we changed the chemistry of our body, we changed the chemistry of our brain. So now maybe because we cooked food rather than eating it raw, altering those carbons, that changed the evolutionary development of the human brain, thereby making us smarter than we previously were. intellectually smarter, right? So we knew how to hunt and gather, but we didn't contemplate anything greater than that. Okay, we thought when the storming was storming that was God throwing lightning bolts because he was pissed. Well, we figured out that that's not exactly what's going on, right? So man has evolved intellectually through thousands of generations. But if the Anunnaki were there, and I can accept that because it does explain a lot of things that hypothetical theology gives you, but never wants to explain. You know, I got thrown out of Sunday school for arguing about Noah and the ark and the unreality of what's going on, which is funny because there was a meme. Did I use the right word there?
Yeah, you did.
A meme today on Facebook, and it was a picture of a fat lion. And he's walking beside the ark, of the Noah's ark. And the caption underneath it says, "It wasn't a very good cruise, but the buffet was great." Okay, yeah, all right. So the lion is fat because, he was on that boat for how many months, right? The buffet was cool, man. I didn't like the crew, but the buffet was good. So, I challenged that at the ripe old age of 5 or 6 and got kicked out of Sunday school, told never to come back because I was asking questions they couldn't answer, basically. But when you put those same questions on this topic line and go, okay, you can't prove to me that the Anunnaki weren't here. You can show me evidence you suggest is evidence of the Anunnaki. I can't prove that one way or another, but I have to accept I've never seen these images before, so maybe you're onto something. But it does explain a lot of the gaps in the otherwise religious theory of life. So if they did do this, and they are coming back now, that's where we're at now, and that's giving a lot of credit to somebody else, which is the point of my show coming up, is we're giving credit to somebody else. We're taking it away from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you give somebody else power, you become the victim. It's that simple. You gave them the power. So when you give the Anunnaki the power to have created man, then you take man off the hook of having to be responsible for himself. You can turn around and say, hey, Anunnaki, it's your fault, fix it.
These kids are yours. These kids are yours.
Yeah, you did this, fix it, okay? Because that's the human way. As you said, Robert, we like to blame someone else, blame anybody else but ourselves.
Well, that's only when you're in the victim mode.
Failties in anyone, but never point at the failties of myself.
Well, only if you're a victim.
Only if you're a victim.
Right. But then there's those of us that are survivors that have been working to figure this out and help each other to overcome and move to the next level of existence. And part of that is information based. So that's one of the reasons we do shows like this. We are running up to the top of the hour here. And again, I would ask that people please go visit my website at unicusmagazine.com, UNICUS magazine.com. A lot of free information there. And you can always contact me through the website. And also, Odin got me to put up Facebook, so I'm connecting with you guys through Facebook, even though I don't like that platform. But in any case, we have to do what we got to do.
It's a good message. It's a good message center. You can communicate
I understand.
with each other.
It's for convenience.
Don't read the dialogues on the side. They'll drive you insane.
Right. Okay, so
and don't forget, you're on tomorrow, brother.
Oh, that's right. We'll be on again. Yeah, thank you. We just inked that deal yesterday. So tomorrow we'll be on from, was it 6 to 8?
Yeah,
6 to 8. Yeah, 6 to 8 Eastern on GERN. We'll be back with you, and we'll continue the conversation then. Could you roll the outro for me?
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sitting here. I'm just amazed at how wonderful this show went. How much information was. Where do you get shows like this, people? Yeah. Hey, don't forget, Unicus. That's the man right there. You know.
Real quick, do I need to log out and log back in, or just stay here?
Just stay around. All right,
stay.
Music.
Okay.
Yeah, music time, people. Good night, everybody. Say good night, peoples. Come on.
Good night. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. That concludes another Unicus Report. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to be with you as always. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did.
Subscribe to the magazine.
in any case, until next time, may the force be with you.